Hello again, this is from Forest Lake Park, Park Liskovi Ozera. Ozera means lake and Liskovi is from the forest lake. In any case, this is nice and quiet. I made a video here already, maybe I will upload it, I'm not sure yet. But I will talk a little bit now about something else. So in the previous video that I recorded but not yet uploaded as well, I talked a bit about psychology, and this is also about psychology. It's about what people think about me, and almost invariably they are wrong. They're wrong in their assumptions of what I want to achieve, want to do, or abilities as well. So I mentioned, for example, the book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, and the writer of that is autistic. I'm 100% sure. He has some other issues that were going on, and it's an interesting book, but it's especially interesting to analyze the writer, because that's what's jumped out to me when I first read it about 2013. So you can analyze people from what they write, even though they do not intend to do that. Same goes, of course, with the book about manipulation from influence from Robert Cialdini. You can analyze this with him, even though that's not his intention. In any case, but people do not succeed with that with me, from what I say or write. And I'll give you this example. So this was about in Amsterdam, just before I left with the bus to Wrocław in Poland. It was I was wearing the yellow t-shirt that I bought 2 years ago in Ukraine with the blue letters on it, with the Ukrainian symbol and Ukraine written on it. So he's Yugoslav, we were talking, it was interesting. We talked about, for example, smoking weed, which he sometimes did, which I detest. I don't smoke. I've never tried it even, but I detest the smell. But mostly other topics like Ukraine, psychological things. So we talked about, for example, what is going on with world leaders, things like that. And at one point I wanted to tell him something, but when I want to tell something, then I usually see a tree in my head, like abstract, with 2 or 3 things that I want to tell, I want to go to, that together show something important, show why what I say is the correct view, for example. And I had that twice. And twice something happened that made him think something about me, which is completely wrong. What I'll tell you. So what I wanted to tell was, for example, how something works with manipulation, for example. And I see 2 or 3 things that I want to tell. I go through it, but I don't tell them immediately, those 3 things. I tell the steps of how you can show that this implies that. And then after a few steps you get to a point, or a few steps, or many steps even, you get to a point, okay, and I've showed this is very interesting, and this relates to something else. Okay, this something else I want to tell. But what then can happen is that I forget the starting position. And so I asked him, what were we talking about? What is the point just before? Because then I can get back. It's not like in chess. So, for example, if you think ahead in chess, doesn't matter how many moves ahead you think, you can always go back to the starting position, because the starting position is the chessboard, which is right before you. So what I run into is, I think, the limitations of short-term memory. My short-term memory gets filled with all the steps that I want to show, and the whole deduction of this is related to this and that to that. So I asked him, what was the step before I started this whole deduction, whole talk about this single point that I wanted to show. And it happened twice on two different topics, and he thought something about me, namely that I had ADHD, and that is completely wrong. I don't have anything. I saw a video of mine. Someone made a comment, which was a really stupid comment. Oh, I think you're schizophrenic. No, I'm not, you moron. I'm completely stable. I don't have delusions of any kind, of persecution or whatever, or conspiracy theories. In fact, I don't believe there are generally conspiracy theories. A lot of people believe conspiracy theories, for example, about the Chinese flu, that they want to do this or that. No. You can explain everything that happens just by simple personal motives of politicians. But I will go over ADHD. So I thought it was that I was distracted, but I wasn't distracted. I think what's going on is my short-term memory is filled with all the steps, and then the starting position is gone from short-term memory. So let's go over this. So this is symptoms of attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, and ADD, attention deficit disorder, is without the hyperactivity, but I have neither. Inattentiveness, difficulty concentrating and focusing, I don't have that. Hyperactivity and impulsiveness, I'm not hyperactive and I'm definitely not impulsive. Let's see. Inattentiveness, short attention span, being easily distracted, no. Making careless mistakes, for example in schoolwork, no, never. Appearing forgetful or losing things, no. Being unable to stick to tasks that are tedious or time consuming, no. I will continue whatever time it takes if it interests me. If it doesn't interest me, I'll take breaks or something. That's completely normal. Appearing unable to listen to or carry out instructions, no. Constantly changing activity or task, no. I change whenever I feel like it, but not constantly changing. I do. Sometimes things take very long, like a project. It can take weeks or so. Yeah. Of course, you do something else in between if you want to finish it. Having difficulty organizing tasks, no. Hyperactivity and impulsiveness, being unable to sit still, especially in calm or quiet surroundings, no. I love to sit still in quiet surroundings. In particular, I almost never have, for example, music on when I'm at home. Constantly fidgeting, never. Being unable to concentrate on tasks, never. I can always concentrate. Excessive physical movement, no. Excessive talking, sometimes. But that's, for example, when meeting someone who's interested in a certain topic, could be about bicycles, could be about psychology, and I want to explain something, and then I'm talking a lot. Perhaps too much. But it's to explain something that very few people know or realize or understand properly. Being able to wait their turn, no. Acting without thinking, never. Almost never. Sometimes. Everyone has something. Interrupting conversations, if needed, but rarely. Little or no sense of danger, no. I do have a sense of danger, although I'm never afraid, but that's different. For example, when I was in Zaporizhia and the rocket attacks were there, and I saw the rockets hit the buildings, saw the huge flash and an enormous bang, I thought, is this safe? Of course, it's not really safe, but you can get hit by a car walking across the street. What I did was calculate, for example, the chance of getting killed there was staying a week in Zaporizhia compared to getting killed in traffic in the Netherlands. And I thought, yeah, okay, the difference is not that big. I'm not going to really. In certain areas there's more risk, such as in the center of the city, but I don't have any of this. But he thought it. Why? Because I did not remember the starting position of the conversation, but starting position was gone because my short-term memory got filled up with all the other things I want to think and try to keep in mind, and you just have to. Those are the limitations of the brain. Has nothing to do with intelligence, by the way. Yeah. It's interesting but wrong. And that guy who said about schizophrenia, you've got schizophrenia. I think that guy is a psychologist or had studied psychology, not actively psychologist, being a psychologist. And he feels offended that I think, or state, I don't think it, I know it, that all psychologists are incompetent and most are mentally unstable. And I mentioned that you can deduce why most are mentally unstable, and it's hard to give any hints, because if one hint already, then you should know it. I asked him, by the way, that guy in Amsterdam. He had some dealing with psychologists. A brother of him and a friend of his also went to psychologists, and he said they didn't help him and he thought it was because they didn't tell the psychologists everything. And I said, yeah, psychologists are incompetent, that's why they have problems understanding people. And even if someone does not tell you everything, then the psychologists should ask questions and they should realize what's going on, that there's something missing. For example, I had that with a friend in Kharkov. I thought, yeah, she's autistic, but in her dealing with students, she definitely wasn't. And later, I thought, yeah, there's a contradiction somewhere. So something else is going on. So later, thought she's a bit emotion poor, but also she's emotionally repressed. And that came from a bad influence from her mother. And she told me what happened. And then I realized, with her mother, who did not like her to do certain things. And then I realized that this together caused this view of her being autistic. It's not quite the same, although it's close. So I just continue thinking, yeah, but something is wrong. Psychologists, they should be able to do the same thing, but they can't. And a relative of mine also knows people who went to psychologists and who didn't get help. And she, I think, got in touch with a psychologist in related to seeking work. And she felt, yeah, the psychologist didn't do a good job. Yeah. It's always the same. So the problem with psychologists being not mentally stable, which is very, very often, there is something in them. For example, they can be autistic, they can be narcissistic, they can have self-esteem issues that are not lead to narcissism, many other things. And that means they are not properly able to understand everyone, to put yourself in the position of others. If you're completely stable, then you can do that, and you can imagine also things like, what is it like to be this or that? And I've done that. For example, with someone who's autistic, who made a comment on a photography website, DP Review, which almost got deleted end of last year, but it was saved. There's the guy who made a comment, and everyone thought he was a troll. I thought that as well, and then he made another comment. No, I'm serious about his question about how great Samsung cameras were. So this is long ago, 10 years or so. Everyone he was making comments about how everyone thought Samsung cameras were so great. And it sounded really like a troll comment. And then he's made another comment, and he said, no, I'm serious, this or that. And nobody believed him, but I thought, okay, well, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to switch off all emotions, all feelings. I'm going to read what he wrote. And then I felt, okay, yes, it's possible, he's telling the truth. But if that's what he really feels, then it means he's autistic. He's emotion poor. There are no emotions that are included in the language that someone uses, writes. Almost no facial expressions, same as with psychopaths. But you can emulate that. If you're not stable, then you cannot emulate everything. You may be able to understand certain things, but not everything. You need to be able to correct it, and you can't correct certain things. So being emotion poor, for example, you can't correct that. So yeah, that guy who made a stupid comment about schizophrenia. Yeah, he remembered what people say about others almost always relates to themselves. And he's possibly schizophrenic himself. Or he saw or he was just trying to criticize me because of the fact that I criticize psychologists. Well, for good reason. Oh, by the way, in Wrocław I met a woman who we got talking about psychologists, other topics, and she felt she also dealt with one and some friends of her. She also felt psychologists are incompetent. In any case, maybe that's interesting. This is nice weather. It's a bit sunny. It's not that warm yet, but with a coat you can sit nicely without having sun directly shining on you. I'll be staying here at least a few more days, until middle of next week. Then I'll go to Kiev, and then I'll decide about what else I'm going to do. That's it for now. Any comments welcome, of course. Bye.